Alright, so I don't even know where to begin. I don't know how to really start this video, but one thing's for sure, I'm not really pissed off about today's result. Like the fact that Barcelona lost 3-5, it doesn't really concern me. It doesn't really mean much. It's preseason, it's Barcelona's first game. You're gonna hear me reference Barcelona's first game a lot because again, this is Barcelona's first game, so I'm not really pessimistic right now. Yes, we saw some horrible performances from certain players, but I don't want to make a definitive opinion on any of these players right now because again, it's the first game and I'm gonna allow Barcelona losing 5-3. We have to remember that Arsenal did just play their fourth game against Barcelona. Barcelona played their first game, and so obviously and of course Arsenal are going to look much more high tempo compared to Barcelona, much more energetic, much more there's more understanding between the players because they had more training, they had more time with the coach. And so if you're concerned about Barcelona's future, or if you're like one of those journalists that's saying that Barcelona have been outclassed by Arsenal and why Barcelona should be afraid or concerned, don't be alarmed, right? Just don't be alarmed. Don't be too pessimistic at all in the comment sections. I really don't want to hear it. We'll be fine. Trust me, we'll be fine. It's a shame that Barcelona did not have their first game against Juventus because I felt like if Barcelona did play that game, that would have allowed for more preparation against Arsenal because going up against Arsenal is a much harder task. And so that first game against Juventus was really needed because I remember when Barcelona did cancel that match, I'm like, okay, we're going to cancel this match against Juventus. We're going to go against Arsenal. We're probably going to lose. And then we're going to go against Real Madrid with a loss behind us. And we're going to basically maybe come in with our heads down and the fans are going to be pessimistic. And then maybe Barcelona might lose. And then from there, everybody's going to be saying that Barcelona is going nowhere. We made the wrong signings. We need better signings and blah, blah, blah. I feel like we're going to go down that route, but it is what it is. And I have, like for me, I just have complete understanding on why Barcelona got this result and why this could be a bad preseason for us. But who knows? Maybe these players might turn up against Real Madrid like they always do. We are the kryptonite of Real Madrid, and we're going to continue to do so throughout this season. So going into this game, we had two different starting 11s. The first half, we had Ter Stegen in goal, Dest, Araujo, Pedri, Lewandowski, Gundogan, Christensen, Abde, Marcos Alonso, Oriol Romeo, and Rafinha on the field. So it was a okay 11. I wanted to see Frankie being paired with Pedri in the double pivot position to have much more dynamic on the field, and I wanted to see also Dembele start on the right wing, but we didn't really get that. We got it in the second half. In the second half, we got Iñaki Peña in goal with Balde, Dembele, Ansu Fati, Ferran Torres, Kessie, Sergio Roberto, Frankie de Jong, Koundé, Eric Garcia, and Ferran Torres on the field. So that second half lineup was a much more dynamic one, and we will be talking about that lineup later down this video. So I'm going to be making a few key points that I have to talk about in the first half, and then talk about some key points about the second half. First key point, you can really see that in the first half, Araujo was really in his game, and I feel like the reason why he was in his game is because he was claimed as one of the captains, and you saw that effect take place on the field. He was one of the most intense, one of the most emotional, one of the loudest players on the field. He was tackling almost every player that he saw come into his area, and we loved every single second of that. Araujo is a true captain, and I don't know if you guys saw that moment where Araujo picked up the ball, he kicked it into the air, and the ref flinched. He's like, oh my god, like bro, don't kill me, don't over exaggerate. But Araujo was one of our best players, and I just can't wait to see what he does this season. Going on to the other key point, I want to talk about Pedri and Oriol Romeo, who was our double pivot within the formation that we did display. It was like a 4-2-3-1 system when we were out of possession. I really did not like it because the chemistry between those two players, it didn't work well. Now I understand that Oriol Romeo did just play his first game. Pedri and Oriol never played with one another, so it does make sense, but I just feel like it's not going to work in the future. There was many misplaced passes. Oriol Romeo looked very lost, looked a little stiff. The way that he defended really did remind me of Lenglet. And one of the things that really did concern me and that Arsenal saw on the pitch was that every time Barcelona were pressing up high and we formed the 4-2-3-1 system, when Barcelona successfully took the ball away from Arsenal and we tried to pass it back to one of our pivots, whether it was Pedri or Oriol Romeo, they ended up losing the ball. Like they had they felt like they had no responsibility on holding the ball, and they gave it to Arsenal immediately after we got the ball back. And so I really did not like it. Moving on towards key point number 3, and that is about Abde. You can really see that Abde is trying to convince Xavi Hernandez. He was one of the reasons on why Barcelona scored the first goal. He pressed one of the players, he took the ball away from one of the players, he ran down the left flank, made a cross into the box, and then it eventually hit Lewandowski, who scored the first goal. And so that goal was made by Abde, and that is what Abde is. He is someone who's very intense, someone who can take the ball away, run down the flanks. He has more stamina, much more, I would say, flair than any other winger that we we have right now, and that is why Abde is going to be considered as a Barcelona player in the upcoming season. Xavi still has to make a decision. The only way we could see Abde leave this club is if some club comes to Barcelona and say, we'll give you 50 million euros for Abde. You better bet that Joan Laporte and Mateo Lamine are going to be telling Xavi everything that they can to persuade Xavi that he should let go of Abde and that they want to sell Abde immediately. But I loved what I saw from Abde, and I want to see even more from him against Real Madrid. And the last key point is going to be this: Marcos Alonso was not having a good game either. I think that Arsenal knew that one of our weak links was on the left side, which was where Alonso was. And we saw Saka just destroy Alonso multiple times, and the fans of all those Arsenal fans in the stadium were like having so much fun because they knew that they were just toying with Barcelona, and it was running through Alonso. And so Alonso could not cope with a high-paced player, and that makes me really concerned about this upcoming season. Like, what happens if Alonso ends up playing against a Kylian Mbappe or a Phil Foden or any other like fast-paced player? Alonso will encounter one of those players, and that is why I do push this agenda, and I've been saying this over the past 6 to 7 days. Xavi Hernandez should really consider looking for a reinforcement on the left back position. It cannot just be Alejandro Balde, because the moment Alejandro Balde gets injured, it's gonna be a wrap. It's gonna be such a wrap. I would not trust Marcos Alonso for like no game in the Champions League, no knockout game, no nothing, because they will run us and run us well. I'm surprised that Alex Valle did not get his debut in this preseason. I really wanted to see what he could provide on the left wing. I'm sure that he's much faster than Marcos Alonso. And so Arsenal were superior on all levels. If you look at the stats here, you can see that Arsenal had more shots than Barcelona. They had more shots on target than Barcelona, more shots off target than Barcelona, and Arsenal had more blocked shots because they tested Ter Stegen much more. So we move on towards the second half, and again we made some changes. Most importantly, we saw players like Balde, Frenkie, and Dembele come in, and Ansu Fati. Those four players there really made the difference on the field. We looked much faster, more dynamic. We created more solutions for certain problems that Arsenal were giving us, and we were just simply much more progressive. We saw so many chances of Barcelona progressing the ball much easier. That duo between Ansu Fati and Alejandro Balde, man, like, I don't know if you guys saw that duo, but Balde and Ansu were really running Arsenal's right flank. I'm really excited to see what this duo could bring. I hope that Xavi Hernandez does give more permission on Ansu and Balde forming that partnership on the left side. You can really build something dangerous because there is pace, there is goals, there is understanding between those two players. But we saw, right, that Barcelona could not cope with Arsenal's press. If you look at these pictures here, you can see that Arsenal were greatly pressing Barcelona. Even when they had the ball from the back, Arsenal really wanted the ball, and that's something that I really do like from Arsenal. Arsenal know how to press. They were man marking every player. Barcelona found it very tough to find a open player, and that was the reality. There was much more compactness with Arsenal, and you can just really see that Arsenal came much more prepared. And another thing that I also wanted to talk about was every time there was a cooling break when they were trying to when the players were trying to drink water because they knew that it was hot over there in Vegas. It was like 100 degrees. When they were drinking water and they all got together, I saw Arsenal much more united. Like, they were like grouping together, and Arteta was in the middle of that circle talking to the players and saying, hey, this is what we need to do, this is what we're doing wrong. He was speaking to every player individually. You can truly see that there was unity at Arsenal. And when it came to Barcelona, I saw the other side. There wasn't really much talking. Like, yes, they were together, but I never saw Xavi Hernandez like command presence during that break time and say, this is what we need to do, this is going to be our solution, this is our current problem, we need to stay away from situations like this. I never saw any of that, and I want to see more of that. I think that Arteta really has much more of a better understanding on how to be a better leader for the players and how to clarify solutions when you do encounter problems on the field. That is why I highly do respect this Arsenal team, and I'm a big fan of Arteta and what he's bringing to the club, and I hope that Xavi Hernandez can maybe learn from what Arteta has been doing. Keep in mind that Arteta has been at Arsenal since like 2019 or 2020, so he has been having much more time with that team than Xavi has been with Barcelona. But I think that through time, Xavi Hernandez will understand that this is what needs to happen, and this is how you bring more unity at Barcelona, is by having those important talks when things are not going well. And so we saw Barcelona try to bring in more solutions. We saw Frenkie de Jong, Kessié really try to find Dembele a lot on the right wing. Dembele was always a constant threat. Now, we were not as successful as like Saka going through Marcos Alonso, because that was our biggest problem. Like, Arsenal had Timber as their left back while we had Marcos Alonso, and so of course Saka looked much more successful compared to Dembele. But we almost did the exact same thing on what Arsenal were trying to do to us in the first 45 minutes, but it was much harder for Dembele because Timber is one hell of a left back. Later in the last 15 minutes, we also saw Lamine Yamal get his debut in this preseason. I was so happy to see him. He got his 10 minutes. He had one very close chance. a very Dembele type of chance where he got the ball on the right side. He drifted inside. He tried to shoot the ball and curl the ball inside the net, but he was way off. But it's okay. Like, he's trying. The fact that he took that shot with confidence, it's okay. If he continues to do that, he will eventually put the ball inside the net. But I was very happy to see Lamine Yamal get that opportunity. So we saw Barcelona score the third goal with Ferran Torres pressing, stealing the ball away from one of the defenders. After we saw one of the defenders of Arsenal make a mistake, give the ball to Ferran Torres, he passes it towards Dembele. Dembele passes it back to Ferran Torres, and Ferran Torres scores the goal and makes it, I believe, like 3-3 or something like that, because or maybe even 4-3, because Arsenal scored 5 total goals and they ended up like just scoring 2 more goals than us. But again, it really doesn't matter. It's a result that I just want to get away from, learn from, and just improve from here. Our next few games is going to be against Real Madrid, AC Milan, Lazio, and Tottenham. Those are going to be the 4 games that we will be playing before we do debut in La Liga, and I hope that we do end up winning against Real Madrid, because if we do, it's going to be only a snowball effect from there. We'll just continue to win against AC Milan, Lazio, and Tottenham, and then go into La Liga with great confidence. So we will be having a pre-match preview against Real Madrid, which will be coming up on Friday, because the game is going to be on Saturday. And then there's also, of course, going to be a post-match review between Real Madrid and Barcelona, very similar to what we did between this game between Arsenal and FC Barcelona. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you guys so much for joining in, and I will see you guys in the next one.